MyCallCloud, we keep your calls clear. Support so smooth, your clients cheer. Smart tech powering your team all day. MyCallCloud, the cloud call away.
Welcome to the MyCallCloud Podcast. And today we have Raymond Stover and Noah Cease.
Good day, good day.
Hi, Raymond. How are you today?
Mighty fine. Fine as frog hair.
Happy Tuesday, I have to say. So we have a few topics we want to cover, right? But I have a story to get into first.
All right. Does it involve the shirt that you're wearing?
It's 2 stories.
All right. 2 stories. I'm good. Kick it off.
Thank you. This shirt, for anybody that wants to query about it, Vice grips, y'all. This was in high school, and I'll turn around. You're going to have to read it for everybody.
And it reads, "Never cease to amaze."
All right, this is my gang name in high school.
Your
we had a
gang name?
We had a gang, and my name was Never Cease to Amaze. That was my name.
Nice.
Now, our gang was a gang to make fun of gangs.
An anti-gang gang.
An anti-gang gang. We would rock through the hallway doing vice grip signs. Vice grips, y'all.
Those were your hand signals?
Those were our hand signals, yeah. So, yeah, we didn't have like the Latin Kings. I don't know even what they do.
Yeah, they were doing their hand signals and
we were
shooting
doing
each other,
like this.
dissing one another. And
yeah, exactly.
You're going through the hallways.
So sometimes I like to bring this shirt out just to remind myself that you can make fun of stuff, right? You can be okay with having fun and just being a little on the cusp of edgy and weird, and it's okay. It's fun. Have fun. Don't stress about it. Don't think about it too much. Have fun of each other. Make fun of each other, right? But in a kind way, right? We weren't doing it in a mean way. We were doing it in a kind way. We were just trying to bring attention to the silliness of gangs in our high school at that time. Now, the funny thing is we still got punished like a gang.
Nice.
We got brought into the principal's office. We got spoken with. She said, if you don't stop the gang signs and the shirts, we're going to have to expel you all. Wow. Right? No violence. No violence at all. So, I mean, our First Amendment was definitely trampled on, right? Because there was no violence. It was a peaceful protest. We weren't protesting, but it was a bit of a movement. There was like 18 of us. It was Mike Stahl and, Tom Barnhart and Jeremy Spraker and like Jonathan Eisen, all these guys that I know in high school. And that's just a handful of people. And I'm leaving out a ton. But we were just making fun of gangs. That's it. Right. Simple. We didn't want to get kicked out of high school or not graduate or any of that garbage that comes along with being a part of a gang. Right. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, not anyway. Life is short.
Yeah.
You saw a problem. You attacked it from a unique angle.
Yeah.
And you had fun with it.
Yeah.
And I totally agree. Being a little edgy, having some fun with it, it was funny. I was getting ready today and I was thinking about, be formal and rigid. No, that doesn't work, right? The world is full of formal and rigid. Who wants to work with formal and rigid? People want to work with people who get things done, get it done right, and they have a good time doing it. That's, hey, let's go do it again.
Yeah, no, exactly. Pull that mic closer to you, buddy.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. So the second story I have was, you'll like this one, I think. I don't know, maybe you won't. So I ran into an old colleague this weekend. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell you guys this at all. But I should have. I probably should have been like, oh my God, you should have seen who I ran into at the soccer field. Mm-hmm. Indoor soccer stadium in 112th and York. I don't know the name of it, but they have 3 indoor fields. I'm sitting on field 1. If anybody's been there, and I'm sure they have in Denver, sitting there on the bench watching my son play, Braden, middle son, and a guy walks up to me, Noah Cease. And I turn around. It's Chris Reapel.
Ah, small world.
Chris Reapel.
Nice.
One of the guys responsible for clipping me for that commission.
Mm-hmm.
He knew about the receivership. He knew I was going to get fired.
He knew it was coming.
His lip was quivering. His top lip was quivering. Like he was nervous. I get it. I understand. It's been a long time. Now, the thing is, I never really blamed Chris individually for that loss of mine. But, it still was a thing that I had to address afterwards, especially. And I realized that I had let go of that for Chris. I didn't really hold animosity towards him for it. I wished him well. His son is playing soccer there. We had a nice conversation. He's got his PhD in psychology at this point. He's doing psychology research projects. So whatever those are grants and funded, right? Asked me how business was, and I told him we're good, and rocking and rolling, having fun, and all that. So it was interesting to run into him, but I realized it was a lesson for me, right? Had I let go of that, and I did. I let go of it. I wished him well, and we shook hands, gave a nice little hug, and he walked away.
Yeah. Had you not let go of that years ago,
it might have been a punch in the face.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah, I mean, and he was brave. He saw you. He went and took the time out of his day to walk over and say hello.
Yeah.
So, kudos to him. Kudos to you. You move forward.
Yeah. And I appreciated him coming over to me. And, I'll tag you in this episode, Chris. You might see it, you might not. And that's okay. But I appreciated the effort. I like that you came up to me. I know that was not easy to do, probably. But you were also probably curious to find out how I was doing. So it was good. I appreciated both perspectives of that. And thank you. Thank you for coming up to me.
Yeah, good. I like that. That's a good story.
Good story.
That's a good story.
Thanks.
Yesterday, I was just telling you off camera that, my life is busy. I got lots going on. Free time is at a minimum.
Yeah.
And I was taking off, leaving my neighborhood, and there was a new neighbor who was moving, and I saw he had some heavy stuff, and I just reached out, and I just pulled over the side of the road, rolled down the window. Hey, are you doing okay? You need a hand? Because I saw he was just all alone. And we started up a conversation. And I was in a bit of a rush. But I was making eye contact. I was like, something's wrong. What's wrong? Mm-hmm. And he was having difficulty getting the words out. He had a stutter. And in that moment, because I caught him off guard, and it was, I was looking intently at him, and I was trying to assess the situation. And when I realized, oh, he has a stutter. Yeah. I just visibly relaxed, and I let him know that it's okay. Mm-hmm. And I just, and we just, pause. And then
that's
next thing you know.
Space for people.
Yeah.
That relax.
Yeah.
You were just there. Then you were just there. Right. Yeah. You allowed him to be. All right. Tell me what happened next.
Well, it de-escalated that stress level that, just by recognizing it and calling it out and just saying it's okay. Mm-hmm. And just let it go, give him his time. Mm-hmm. And next thing I know, we were talking. I'm like, I actually do need to get going. Yeah. But, I made a new friend, met a new neighbor, and I'm so glad that I actually now have the presence of mind to recognize, and I'm sort of like, I don't know, it's just very interesting for me going through that mental exercise of recognizing there's a problem. What is the problem? Oh, I just need to relax and show him that I'm relaxed and that it's okay. And man, he was just, next thing you know, he was just telling me about moving from LA and his motivations, and it was a good thing. So.
Oh, he came in from LA. Yeah. I can imagine any interaction with human beings in a different plane of LA is odd.
Yeah, and it's quiet here. He's like, are there parking restrictions? What do I need to know about parking? And, we're off in the suburbs, and it's okay. Right. As long as you don't leave an RV park for 3 weeks or 3 months or 3 years, then you're okay.
Well, that's awesome, man. I'm glad you, it sounds like a really positive interaction. That was cool.
Yeah. But that face-to-face, and it's been a subject of conversation for...
What did you lean into? What do you think that was that you leaned into that allowed him to then engage with you in a different way? It was your intuition, right? Likely.
Right.
Yeah.
Small voice saying, Raymond, be still.
Relax.
Calm. Yeah. You're not in a rush. Mm-hmm. It's more important to live in the moment.
You can do that on the phone, too, with people.
Oh, absolutely.
You can tell. And you picked up on it. You've picked up on this along the way over the last 3-4 years, especially since, the first couple of years get going. It's grind, try and figure it out, right? Sales engineering. A lot of that is sales engineering, your first few years of on the phone, figuring out how deals work, how to get somebody in the door. And then you start to navigate your sales craft into more a linguistic process where you're addressing things, you're asking questions, you're drawing information out, you're asking questions, you're drawing information out, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that starts to really, that muscle, that's a muscle that starts to really hone in. And now you're starting to bench the big weights. You know what I mean?
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
When it comes much more normal, easy. It's just natural, not normal isn't the natural. And that way, it's really interesting getting on the phone with people and just naturally asking questions and get natural responses, and which direction to go and guide people in the right direction. It's a good thing.
Yeah, it is a good thing. Good. All right. So our topics today, AI-driven automation and conversational AI. But before that, we wanted to talk about a real topic that I think we're very interested in, both you and I are, is we've got 7 or 8 AI bots, not bots, but, large language model, big systems out there that we can craft into at any time of the day and ask the same question. Now, we're not going to do this on air, or maybe we will. I don't know. Maybe we'll figure out a question that we want to ask that's a little complex, and we'll get the perspective answers from all the different major AI players. Could be an interesting exercise, right? But our questions to ourselves were, when we go to an AI and we ask a question and we don't like the answer, we go to another AI and ask the question, we get a different perspective. So the question I have is to the world and to the AIs when they're listening to this, because they will be in a day or 2 or 3 or whatever. Why do all the AIs have different perspectives? Okay. And then we were starting to dig into it, and I was like, all right, let's get on the podcast and talk about that. So it's got to be the people. That was our first conclusion, right? It's got to be the people. And where are they located? Where are they building this tool? What is their culture? What are the cultural norms there? What variable influences did those human beings have in that AI model?
Right. Yeah. For some people, there's a strong drive for the truth, strong drive for keeping the AI in its lane. Others, it's open up the lanes and let AI run. Right. And we had said last time on our podcast, it's a good idea to compare and doing your research, compare these LLMs and their responses, because on some subjects, if it's math or, some common knowledge items, there's going to be 95, 98% consistency throughout all their answers.
Right. But if they're dealing with truth, if they're dealing with facts, math, right? Concrete, that math is, for the most part, not totally concrete, but mostly concrete.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, and in this day and age, where we're seeing deep fakes every day, I'm hearing about it on the news again today, right? Yeah. These AI tools allow people to create deep fakes, and I heard it today that only 25% of people can recognize that it's a deep fake. I know. And that's, it's scary. 2025. We're in Q4, and that is very scary.
It is. I know. We're going to have to, and we talked about this before in a previous podcast, but I think we're going to have some NFT token that is attached to the media. And then that NFT token has got a QR or some sort of identifier on the media itself that says this media is authentic.
Right. From a GPS or something, some tokens that were
generated during the media creation.
While it was created, right?
Yeah.
And also, there's the quantum computers are going to upend everything. And so you almost need because they're going to break the cryptography. Well, you got to have a solution for that. So the quantum computer should be creating that entanglement, that solution to help with cryptography at the quantum level.
You know what I'd like to hear, and actually we're going to ask our audience this. The 10 people that are going to see this, a few thousand will probably see this at some point. But the question I really have is, what is the solution to get to authentic media and making sure that the people that are consuming that media identify it as authentic? Right? It can't be NFTs or what. And maybe it can be. But there's got to be a solution, right? Because we can't have because it's going to be AI generated videos and images of every possible scenario in human existence in 5 years. And we'll not know what's real and what's not real.
Yeah, especially when it's voices of authority.
Right.
Right. There is
from the government.
That recent 3i Atlas right? The interstellar object that's coming in, and there's so much disinformation.
There's so much.
And it's, and there's lockdown. NASA's not, releasing.
What?
Because, oh, yeah.
Are you for
because
real?
because the government is shut down, NASA is not releasing, and a lot of the scientific community is saying, hey, from that Mars, what is it? The Mars
That rover.
it got some high definition photos. Why? NASA is unfortunately creating more distrust and more, concern. Like, what really is this? I mean, it should just be an interplanetary visitor that's passing through. Let's see what those photos are showing us.
Right.
So I digress. The whole point of what I was saying is it wasn't R.V. Loeb, but it was a PhD talking about the subject, and there were 3/4 as many viewers of the AI generated content than his actual interview. Mm-hmm. And so it's, the AI is getting more views. Really scary.
Yeah, that's weird.
And something you had said earlier, like, we need a solution to be able to verify if it's true content.
Yeah.
We also need something to verify that it hasn't been altered. Yes, it's 90% true, and somebody just spliced in, this little piece here.
It reminds me of Project Veritas, and not James O'Keefe, but the software Veritas, truth, right?
Yes.
Isn't that what it stands for? So, in cyber crimes, people will take a image of a hard drive to get the truth of the hard drive, unaltered, bit for bit image copy of what that hard drive is, instead of turning the hard drive on, accessing it, because now you have logs that are being written, right? Things are changing on the drive if it's active on the operating system, right?
Right.
So if it's not active on the operating system, you copy it to a different one. Now you've got an exact copy of truth, whatever that was, right? Anyway.
Well, you have a baseline, and we always need a solid baseline.
We need an image copy of truth for all of the content. What is the truth image, right? Whether the content is video, audio, whatever the content is, images, art, blah, 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 blah. Is it authentic? It is, because it matches this token, right? This content delivery, the amount of space that it takes, the amount of bits and bytes, the bit rate, all of the things, right? There's no alterations to it at all. It is exactly matching this copy, right? And then you'll know it's authentic. But that process alone, trying to match, especially a 2-hour podcast or whatever we end up doing. I mean, the compute on that is going to be pretty fast, depending on what the compute is. And if it's going into a mechanism like YouTube or a channel where it's going to be delivered, right? Those are high power systems. But if you're trying to authenticate a video on your home PC to watch it and identify whether that's true or if it's just AI, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be something that we're going to be able to do real time. You know what I mean?
Well, there's a lot of smart minds working on this problem.
Yeah.
Right. I saw a friend of mine from New York had a friend that was working on building legislation. And I'm like, ooh, that's super interesting. Can I take a look at the draft? And they're saying it's constantly under revision. They're having a difficulty getting it to a final version because things are changing so fast. And I looked at it and it was just page after page. And it put me to sleep. It was, and of course the bad actors, they don't care about the regulations and what the letter of the law is. They're going to just bypass it anyway. Yeah. And, but getting back to what we were talking about earlier, it's really interesting. Have you seen Grokipedia?
No.
Oh, so X, right? Elon, it's really interesting. I heard the quote, Grokipedia. Yeah. So Grokipedia is made by X.
Okay.
Elon, right? And
version 0.1.
Yeah, we are right. There's only like 8,000 articles in here. Like maybe ask how many articles are on Grokipedia currently versus Wikipedia.
I'll just say currently on your platform.
Sure.
Right.
And then yeah, we can go and ask. I'm sort of curious the comparison. Oh.
How many licks?
How many
dreams?
You probably have to go to Google or an LLM to ask that question. Ask it.
I can't ask it of Grokipedia.
So what it is. We're seeing, we went from the Encyclopedia Britannica, you and I, right? We were in high school and we went to the library.
Did your parents buy one?
To go, no.
So my parents bought a set.
So you could have it.
$250. It sat in that basement.
Collected dust
we
like no
built
other.
a cabinet for it.
Mm-hmm.
It was 38 volumes, 42 volumes. It was massive. Onion paper, real thin. Thousands of pages per book. Leather bound. Showed up in boxes and boxes and boxes. This was a door-to-door salesman.
Yeah.
Selling encyclopedias. And my parents bought it. My son's going to
Well, they loved you.
And they're in high school. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course they loved me.
They wanted to give
They
you...
wanted to make sure I had the information I needed to write the papers that I was going to have to write that I could have just gone to the library for.
Have the knowledge of humanity there in the basement that you could tap into at any moment.
Yeah.
Now we have a cell phone.
Yeah,
we
I think I hid like porn images or something. Like ripped up nudie photos.
Slide them in the
episode, volume 22, page 38, and there's a Playboy.
And there was no chance of anybody else ever finding
Never.
them. I was listening to Moonshots the other day, and they were saying, we went from the Encyclopedia Britannica to Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And what a fabulous platform Wikipedia was, despite even, to this day, its faults and some shortcomings that people point out.
Keep going.
Now, Grokipedia is Elon's, version of accumulate knowledge of humanity and present the truth. Its focus is to be fact-based, right? Because there's some problems, right, with Wikipedia.
There's some problems
because you have volunteers, and then
bias.
Content gets updated by more biased people, et cetera, et cetera. So it was interesting. They had said that there was two things I picked up on it, and one was that we went from this transformation from Encyclopedia Britannica on the shelf to Wikipedia, and now they're calling this next generation Grokipedia.
Yeah.
And the other thing they said is, it's pretty low-hanging fruit. Any of these AI LLMs could have gone out and done this.
Yeah.
But, Grok and Elon, this is their baby, and they're running with it, and it's gaining momentum, and the guardrails on this are heavily focused on the truth.
This?
Yeah.
The 27th of October?
Yeah.
And there's 885,000 articles already? We're on the 11th of November, bro.
Yeah. And it should all be truth, fact-based, verifiable. Mm-hmm. So very interesting. There's I've looked up a couple of things and it doesn't have any entries, but on others, solid. Well, it's smart. It's just like the Moonshot guy said. It is a low-hanging fruit. You can identify. And it gets back to what we were talking about. Known pieces of factual information, concrete information that you can build upon and verify.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. I'm going to take a quick sideline.
Please,
How many times have you started to wonder, what's the mainstream media telling us? What's the real truth? What's really going on in Philadelphia or Louisiana? And so then we jump onto Facebook or we jump onto social media and we look at our friends and family, people we know, or we just look up, St. Louis or whatever that locale is, and what are people saying at the local level right now? Because we're questioning what's being presented to us.
Finally, right?
I pissed my dad off. For years. I had a question authority. Yeah, I had a question authority bumper sticker on my car.
Dude, our youth
you were with the Vice Grip crew.
Yeah,
I was driving around.
Yeah.
I was saying that back then, but it was in some ways it was disrespectful, but in other ways it's open our eyes and don't just accept what's spoon fed to us.
Right. Question it. Be curious. Have some curiosity. Right? Why? If something is happening, something happened. Why?
And investigate.
Don't just take the information, right? Don't be angry about it. Why?
We grew up in a generation where we learned that's a core value for us.
Yeah.
I worry about, the
new gen.
The especially, the infants that are being handed iPads for entertainment.
I know.
they're going to just ask Grokipedia. They're just going to ask Google or Gemini or, whatever the LLM de jour is on their device that's defaulted to their use.
I mean, I almost see school collapse happening very quickly at this point. There's going to be no school. There's no way to learn stuff because the kids will have no way to be challenged to learn stuff. It'll just always be available. Okay, let's take an example. I'm flash forwarding just a little bit. Calculators, flashing back. Calculators, paper, right? Especially accounting. They would print off the till. They would look, and they were old enough to know we saw people have these, right? They would balance their books with their manual calculator, and the printout would go, they're off by $10 or they're even or whatever. They'd have to look at the printout on the paper, right? To Casio watch calculators on your hand, right, in the 90s, to Texas Instruments. Now the Texas Instruments calculators are calculus-based, and they can do everything into calculus and what's the next one after calculus?
Trigonometry?
No, trig is before. It's it's virtual, but not virtual math. What comes after calculus? Theoretical math? I don't know.
Yeah, but these calculators, and the calculators themselves are becoming obsolete because you can pick up your phone or your
linear
computer.
algebra and differential equations. Yeah. Now these calculators can do all of those things. Right? All the equations to calculate the area under a curve for an integral. Differential equations. Calculator. What's the slope of the curve? What's the equation of the curve? Here's the area. What are you going to need to do that on paper for? That's a 14-step process on a piece of paper. Right.
And you're more likely to get it wrong.
Oh, you're 98% likely to get it wrong. Right? You miss one step in there or one fractional calculation, you're done. You're way in left field or right field, or you're just off a little bit, but it's not enough to be wrong, right? Kids are going to do the same thing with English, social studies,
history,
other language,
chemistry,
history, language, chemistry. People won't have to learn anything other than maybe who they are. Like, are they an artist? Are they a carpenter? Are they good at some skill or art or whatever, right? I think that's what people are going to have to do because you're not going to have to learn anything. All the information and knowledge is here and it's available. You push that chip in, you run a program, you pay $9.99 a month, and you get any information you want. Uploaded, immediately available. No learning other than who you are. That's a guess. That's a wild guess. It's out there. Maybe
it's not that far off.
You don't think it's far off?
Well,
what's your take on it?
See it. Well, appreciate you asking. Yeah. I think the high school teachers and the college professors, they're grappling with this, right? The students are turning in AI generated material.
Right.
And
they can't tell. Especially if you start the beginning of the year and you don't know what your writing style is from your student, if you're doing an essay or whatever, you're not going to be able to tell.
Right.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. That's there's just so many points to go off of on that. I would say traditionally, education, the math teachers and the good professors, they teach the rules to the students, and then you help the students apply those rules. And in physics, right? Physics is a great example, right? You're given a problem and you have to understand what's being asked, what's the goal, and then which program to use and extrapolate that across all sorts of learning, right? You need to know which tool to use. Use a vice grip, right tool for the right, job.
Yeah.
And I'm not using vice grips for a hammer job.
Are you saying I'm a tool, Raymond?
No,
am I a tool?
Not at all. Not at all. And I totally respect that. As a quick side note, there's somebody in the Stover lineage, back in my history. Is apparently the original patent for a vice grip was by one of my...
Get out of here.
Yeah. According to my uncle.
Coincidentally, I show up with vice grips.
And I was like, oh, I love it. How'd you know?
That sounds like a breadcrumb.
And they're so useful. I touched a pair of vice grips this morning, literally. I was putting them up because I'd recently used them.
Of course you did.
But getting back to education, right? A good education teaches the student the tools that are available to them, and then they apply them appropriately to achieve the desired goal.
Right.
Well, now with these LLMs, the students don't have to know. They don't have to know that. They can just ask the question. And, to your point, I think that, humans are going to be lazy, and they're going to be spending more free time to figure out who they are and what they want to do. And in terms of having to use their cranium, and what's between the ears, it's already proven. It's already going down, right? MIT had that study that showed that people that are using LLMs are cognitively in decline.
Let's please hope that that's not true. Let's hope. But obviously the study is showing that it is.
Right. Well,
hopefully the study is flawed.
There's the top 10% of, the population who are go-getters who are going after it, right?
Yeah.
And 80% are just sort of going to work, and 20% are trying to, spending all their effort to avoid work. And, you get all walks of life, and AI is going to be impacting all of them.
Right. And it does already. All impacts, all walks of life are being impacted right now by AI. I don't care if you're a skilled tradesman.
My wife is
doesn't matter,
right? My wife, Sandra, she's in real estate, and she had a phone call this weekend, and it was on speakerphone, so I heard it. And when she hung up, I said, that's really interesting. That was an AI phone call, 100%. She's like, yes, I recognize that. And it worked really, and her comment was, it worked really well. She set an appointment. She was able to confirm and set an appointment. And for her, that was awesome, made her life easy. But the part that I think, one, it's very interesting that, the small business owner can do this.
Yeah.
Right? These tools are now becoming to the layer, because this was not a national company that she called. She called a local company, some SMB, some local family-owned business now has this AI tool running their inbound phone calls 100% to completion with satisfaction.
Right. 100%? Wow.
Manage that call. The need for, I need an inspector to come out. Okay, gotcha. What's available? Yeah. Okay, I'm available on these times. And so it was a coordinated schedule. Oh,
that's perfect.
Or it was a specialty inspection, right?
Something, though.
Yeah, but it's a tradesman.
Yeah.
It's a small business operator. I expect that of, the Fortune 500 or maybe Angie's List or, something like that. But the small, mom and pop operator is now being able to plug in this tool.
Funny enough, Chris Repo brought that up too. He said, how you guys working with AI? And I was like, yeah, I built an AI chatbot. It's an interface with Phonely. And I told him I used, ChatGPT, DeepSeek, and I didn't know the DeepSeek one, but I used Gemini, ChatGPT, and I was like, what's that Chinese one? And he was like, I don't remember. DeepSeek. But yeah, those three, obviously, because that was one of his first questions about the industry, because he's been out of it for a bit, I think, but
he understands telephony, and he understands that AI is going to have an impact, and so he wanted to see what you had to say,
which is surprising too, because in psychology you would think you'd want to stay in the human form versus focusing on what AI is talking about, right? But his attention is still, what is AI doing, right? What's going on there, right? Other than the human interaction of psychology. For me, it was very paradoxical to see him ask me that question. Obviously, I played that back later, and I saw that message. I saw that perspective of, what he was talking about didn't really relate to what he does. Why is he asking me about AI? I don't know. It was kind of interesting. It was an interesting conversation all the way around. It didn't last very long, just, a couple minutes, but.
Well, one, you're a trusted authority, and you're in the space, and it's something that's on his mind. And it's also disrupting his client base, right? People are starting to use LLMs instead of psychologists, and, LLMs to help with psychological, questions and misgivings and guidance, et cetera, et cetera. And
isn't there an AI psychologist right now?
There's multiple people working on that solution.
Abby, your AI therapist.
Yeah.
Wow. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, there's multiple. ChatGPT is claiming psychologist.
Well, they got to be careful, right? Because they were taken to court.
Or were they really?
Over something that was said, right?
Or they were.
Somebody had committed suicide.
Oh, somebody took
based on,
Yeah.
So, the guardrails have to be on 100%.
Yeah.
24 hours a day. And, humans are fallible and humans read into things wrong way. And,
absolutely.
That's a slippery slope I wouldn't want to get into.
Right. Yeah, I don't see myself using AI's therapists anytime soon. Just saying. Doesn't seem like the right path. I think you'd want to get somebody with, I think I would interview a therapist on their experience. Like, for example, you're not going to go to a therapist to get help with a stealing problem, right? If that therapist hasn't had a stealing problem, what is it?
Kleptomania.
Kleptomania, right? And then you go to a therapist that has never stolen anything, right? They have no perspective on what you're feeling at that moment of theft, right? That's just
you're just pulling,
just one example, right? But it's like that for anything. Alcoholism would be another one. You go to a therapist and you're an alcoholic and you're going to a therapist to get relief from alcoholism or walk that through, and the therapist has never had a drop of alcohol. That kind of silly stuff.
Yeah.
Why would you go to a therapist that's never done the work?
But
in the issues that you've had.
Right. But these LLMs are right at our fingertips, and people use the LLMs like, oh, I got, this ache in my arm, or I got this, ache in my belly, or, people are self-diagnosing themselves, right? They're second guessing the doctors. They're researching and trying to find out the symptoms. They plug in the symptoms. Well, that's a very short hop to say, hey, I have a psychological, I'm having a relationship issue. What do you recommend?
Right.
And I was visiting with a friend, and he shared some of the struggles that he was working through. And he said he is working through his issues, and he really liked the OpenAI product because it was giving him very good advice, sound advice.
Wow.
And I read it, and I'm like, wow. That's sort of like what I would have recommended. And, these other points that it's suggesting, these are good too. And it talks about, if this is serious, and it throws in the human element. But I think that it's, you grew up in a different generation, right? You want to be well-informed, and you probably want to be, interacting with a psychologist that you can relate to and that's been through what you've been through. But the LLM is like, there's no personality. I don't have to worry about what I'm sharing with the LLM because the LLM isn't going to go.
There's no judgment.
There's no judgment. And they don't know my friends. They're not going to go there's not going to be any gossip generated because I'm talking to this LLM. I'm getting good feedback and, but then what happens later on, what happens miles down the road in those conversations and, so it's interesting.
Yes.
Very interesting times.
And there's 7 AIs out there, or 8 or 9 or 10 now, who knows? They're all going to have a little different perspective. If you ask that question about alcoholism or kleptomania or, relationship issues or whatever, every single one is going to have a slightly different answer.
Yep.
Right?
That's right. You're pulling us back to where we had started diverging earlier.
Did I just circle us back to the beginning?
That's really good.
You're welcome.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely because the people that developed right on target, the people that developed these LLMs are sitting in the bar to start with, or the restaurant, or the basement, and they were working through these ideas, and they decided, how they were going to architect this solution. And in software development, decisions that are made early on have long-term
impact.
Impact, yeah. And so the guardrails,
philosophy. What is our position on things? Are we going to try and eliminate bias or allow it? What is going to be considered bias? Identifying what language to use. Like, are we going to use 6th grade and above? Or are we going to use 6th grade and below? Or are we going to mix collegiate? What level of language are we going to use inside of the LLM to communicate the concepts and the ideas and the whatever?
And the weights we're going to assign, and and what are we going to allow to lift up and not allow to lift up. And we've already seen a lot of times these AI engines, they've had to, shut things down.
Yeah. Oops.
Oops. And so you have to, shut things down and put those guardrails back in. And it's very interesting how different teams of AI engineers have created. And that's why we were talking on our last session about how we will compare results for LLMs. And
it's such a big topic right now. It is literally consuming everything, every industry. And people need to figure out how they're going to integrate with AI, period. In every space. Every space. It's not just the telecom space, the contact center space. It's every space. Like you were saying, the home inspector, call in, AI, appointment scheduling.
Oh, yeah.
Every space. Everywhere. Automotive, banking. What are some of the agriculture?
Power.
Oh my God, agriculture. Listen, there will be no farmers. It will all be bots. At one point in time, they will just plow the field at night, during the day, in the rain, in the mud, plant the seeds, harvest the things 98 days later after making sure the nutrients are perfect.
You're spot on.
Right?
There's certain trends, right? The robotics is going to take over. Peter Diamandis had said out to the public that AI is the new economy, right? Because it is now taking over. And Elon Musk had responded to him, AI and robotics are the economy.
Yeah,
and
AI as the neural network, as the information, and the robotics as the physical form to produce the work.
Yep.
Right.
And there's, your comment earlier about people are going to be having to figure out who they are and where they fit in this world.
Yeah.
Ever more so because the robots will be doing the dishes and doing the laundry.
There'll be nothing to do.
And farming. Yeah. What is it that people are going
What
to
is it your
spend
day going to
time?
be filled with?
It's a great question.
This, having conversation, communion with each other, right? Talking about topics, solving bigger problems, figuring out if Atlas 3i is real. Right?
Yeah. You're going to have a lot of free time to do more research.
If those Japanese videos were real or not. Because we don't know if they were. For true 100%, we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know.
I don't know. I'd have to dig down. I mean, there's a Japanese space agency, right? Mm-hmm. JSA. And we should be able to go verify that. Maybe
we can look
for free time,
but we don't know, right? Whether or not they altered the images just to get clicks or views or whatever.
That. Oh, yeah.
You'll never know.
I would trust they wouldn't, but super. Yeah, I don't know. From what I've seen, it is an interstellar object that is moving very fast. And, the best resolution that I trust it's always still just a blob.
Yeah.
That amoeba looking thing out of, that was claimed to be from the Japanese Space Agency. It was very detailed. JAXA. Okay. But the photograph they had, somebody had said they had produced, it looked more like an amoeba with individual lights inside of it.
This one. That one.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
This one.
And then somebody enhanced that some more.
Yeah. And then, what is this?
Phase shifting with,
is it tech we just absolutely don't understand? Maybe.
Well, I think that it has exhibited, there's that Japanese.
That's the Japanese one.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not a comet, Raymond.
No, that's not. But is that truly a photograph of the 3i Atlas?
That's the question.
That's the question.
Is that authentic? And I think that circles back to the beginning of this conversation when we started talking about, are we going to be able to identify an authentic piece of content? And how do we do that? How do we answer that question for ourselves?
Yeah, how do we verify?
I think that's going to be important further. How do we learn something? Because we could start telling kids that blue is red and red is blue.
Oh, absolutely.
And they will never. We've obviously had an agreement that this color, rojo, red, in every language across the globe is red. But now we just change it in 2026, we're going to change red to blue. And we're going to tell all the AIs this color and all of the variations of it is now going to be considered blue. And the blue color and all its variations of it are going to be considered red. Go. Now, everybody's confused. Mass confusion on blue and red.
Yep.
Or let's try red and green.
Problems.
Let's try red and green.
Yeah.
Red stoplight, green. Well, now the stoplight's on the bottom. Green is red. Right? You start to think about that stuff a little bit and you're like, whoa, we can really get ourselves off the rails fast. Right?
Oh, we can.
Not identifying what's real in context, in content, in video, audio, images, etc.
Right.
Right.
Well, thankfully, there's some people that are, open-minded and they go and do research and check multiple sources.
Yeah.
I think
how many people
scary.
do that?
That's a great question.
How many people check multiple sources? Should we ask the Goog?
Yeah. How many people? How do you ask that? You got to ask that you got to frame the question.
Oh, what do you mean by framing it as?
Wow.
All right. Let me ask. Let's see. What is the question we're
What percentage of Americans,
okay, of Americans get multiple perspectives for a political issue?
That's great. Yeah.
Because that would be interesting, right?
Yeah.
Multiple perspectives for a political issue.
Or to inform themselves on a political issue.
To inform themselves. To inform themselves. Okay, now this is where we're gonna do this on multiple themselves. Sorry.
On a political.
Yeah, on a. There you go.
And then we'll just call that good.
All right, now we're gonna check multiple AIs for that. We're gonna come back to we're gonna review them all at the same time. Sound good? So we're gonna do that one, that's Google, right?
Yep.
Okay. Then we're gonna do Grok. Then we're going to do ChatGPT and Grok. So we're going to do this one. I guess I got to log in. Let me log in real quick. You got it. There you go. Boom. All right. And Grok is logged in. Yep. All right. We're just going to use those three. Just those three. We're going to see what those three say. We're going to cover them. Okay, here we go.
Wow, 39%.
Give it a go.
Was that preference for like-minded views?
Yeah, preference for like-minded views. In the 2024 survey, about 4 in 10 Americans, 39% said it was at least somewhat important that they got news from a journalist who shared their political views. This figure rises to about half among those at the extreme ends of the political spectrum. Conservatives, Republicans, and liberal Democrats.
But that's getting news from journalists that share their political views.
Perfect.
Right?
This is what Google gave us, right? We're not going to ask more questions. That's the only question we're going to ask. Next.
Okay.
All right, we're going to go to ChatGPT. All right,
according
same question.
to a recent survey by Nonfiction Research, 52% of Americans say they have combined media sources for opposite perspectives or political beliefs just so they could try and get the full picture of an issue. Wow, 52%.
I find that incredible.
I find that
hard to believe.
I would have guessed more like 20, 25%.
I would guess more like
Americans.
52? Do you think 52% of us are actually getting multiple sources of perspective? No way.
If the question in the survey was asked of me, of course I do.
Okay.
In reality,
depending
I'm
on
in
how
a
they ask the
rush.
question. Yeah. The question should have been, how many sources of media do you check on a political issue? That's what the question should have been, right? And maybe we can alter our question. But all right, so that was just 2 AIs, and you can see the differences in both of those AIs are pretty radical.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here's the third one. All right, I'll read this one. So this is from Grok. Overview of Americans' consumption of multiple political perspectives. Americans' exposure to multiple perspectives on political issues is limited, largely due to partisan divides in media consumption. All right. What is this saying? Key statistics on news source and diversity. Americans using multiple sources of news, multiple news sources for political election views. 75 to 80%.
That's of the people that care. the other 80% of Americans that don't care.
Americans who seek out sites that challenge their point of view, that seems accurate. 20 to 30%, right?
Yep.
This seems like an accurate value. Americans aren't doing the work to go look and find different perspectives, for sure.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, it goes against the grain, right? You know, it goes against my view. And, you know, even if I start going down that path and, oh, well, this is exactly opposite of what I believe, they're going to shut off. And, you know, how many of them are going to read through that whole article? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes the New York Times, you know, I have to have 20 minutes to read an article.
So the perspective that we were talking about very early on in this conversation was AI's perspectives are all different radically. You can't just trust what you're getting, right? You got to look at multiple sources, even in the AI realm. And the AIs have access. I'm assuming for sure that they have access to all the information that's available in the human context.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's why they have consumed all human knowledge.
So how are they so different?
Because the people that are designing them, right?
Bias.
Yeah. It's baked in.
It's baked in.
Day one.
It has to be. And fortunately, it has to be baked in. And I don't know how we strip it out. I mean, Elon's trying, but still there's human beings behind there building that, you know, building some of the guardrails.
Absolutely.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Interesting. I mean, super interesting topics. All right. So that was a good exercise. I wanted to get through that. That was really actually pretty cool. And then let's figure out where we're at here. All right. Omnichannel and seamless customer experiences. We want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, we should talk about that almost on our next podcast. You know, come back to the common.
Do you want to wrap this one up and then we'll...
yeah, we've talked a lot about other things than telecom and call centers and...
Good stuff, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really good content.
I love the Vice scripts, y'all.
Appreciate you. All right, everybody. MyCallCloud, we're out. We'll be back after this commercial break. Bye.